Hello, lawsters and fellow authors, aspirants, and all listeners. Today we have an interesting, just like the previous episode, we have a fiction writer who writes on based on mythology. Last week's was Parag, who does on Mahabharata. This time she is into mythology and a very interesting person to talk to. We're going to have a lot of fun talking today, and Danya will be introducing Preetha formally. Preetha, welcome to our show. Thanks for being our guest today. And over to Danya.
Hello, fellow lawsters. Today we have with us Preetha Rajah Kannan. She is the author of Shiva in the City of Nectar, based on the Tamil Thiruvilayaadal Puranam, son of Shiva, based on Kandhapuranam, Hounds of Shiva, based on Periyapuranam, and the warrior god Ayyappa of Sabarimalai. Preetha's fifth book is The Dance of Shiva, a collection of sthalapuranams, and she is also the editor of V.S. Rav's Navagraha Purana. Preetha Rajah Kannan has contributed to the New India Express and the Express School magazine. A homemaker and a grandmother, she lives with her family in Madurai, Tamil Nadu. Welcome, Preetha.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First and foremost, let me tell you both, Jayanti and Danya, it's a pleasure and a privilege to be with you today.
Happy having you here with us, Preetha. And for those listeners who don't know what Periyapurana or those belong to ancient Tamil religious literature, which are revered even today. They are so much dense and deep in meanings, and as everyone should know, that Tamil is the oldest language, proven yet and again and again that it is the oldest of languages and oldest of the classic languages of the world. Coming to Preetha, why mythological fiction? What inspired you to write on that? And it seems you didn't just stop with the first one, you have gone on to the second and third. I'm really interested in knowing what triggered you to go into writing about mythology in a fictionalized form. When was the first ignition, the creative ignition? Share with us. Let's begin there.
Okay. JT, before I answer your question,
yes, please.
I would just like to point out yes. that we should not equate mythology with fiction. Okay. Because fiction is different from mythology, because in the case of mythology, a belief system comes into play. Myths belong to particular cultures, to particular societies, and a large segment of people in that society or that culture believe in them. For them, it is real. So where I am concerned, my books are retelling of the Puranas. And the Puranas themselves are a merry mix of mythology and genealogy and history and the Vedas and what have you. So actually, I don't fictionalize the Puranas. What I do is, in my books, the skeleton of my story remains true to the original Purana. So, my imagination or the fictionalization comes into play only in fleshing out the skeleton to make it more readable. So maybe what I do is add atmosphere, add dialogue, make the characters more real to life. That is what I do. So let's say, okay, with that out of the way, let me come to your question.
Yes.
I'll be very frank. The only reason I jumped into mythology and the Puranas was because I thought it would be the easiest way to get published. Because,
That's very interesting.
So because when I was kind of looking at English writing, Indian English writing, it kind of struck me that every other bestseller or well-known book was based on mythology.
Yes.
So then I thought, okay, this is my best chance of getting a toehold, to get into this thing of getting a book published. So that is why I chose this particular genre and decided to write on the Puranas. And I also realized that South Indian Puranas have largely been ignored. So that's when I decided to choose this particular genre, mythology.
You were saying this will be easier to get published, something like that. If I may ask, was your first book, was it published traditionally, or did you publish it, on your own, self-published? And if there is a story behind, could you share with us? If there were any rejections, you can please share with us. Everyone will benefit. Thank you.
Actually, my journey into getting my book published was pretty straightforward. So, once I had completed the book, I just went online and I Googled top Indian publishers in English fiction.
Yeah, I'm smart.
My goodness, I don't know if you say so. Okay, so anyway,
I'm in this field for 27 years. I don't do all these things. Anyways.
Okay. so then what I did is I shortlisted 8 of them who had published mythology. Okay, who had already published mythology. And then I sent my manuscript to them or sample chapters as per the requirements, whatever they wanted. And then gave the weight. Okay. Not a peep out of them. Not even an acknowledgement. And there I was oozing confidence from every pore that I had a story, to tell, and that there was a whole wide world of readers
waiting for you to tell
just
it.
Dying, exactly, just dying to hear it. And here I was, met
You're
with
already
this
a writer
dreadful
then,
silence.
author then.
So, and then, after several weeks, I heard from 2 people. So one was Neat Start. Really?
Weeks is good. You got
really?
the answer very fast.
Okay, maybe about 6 weeks or so. And then
very fast.
So really, then I must count myself fortunate, though I didn't think so at that time.
Yes.
So then I heard from Lead Start and from JCO. And in the case of Lead Start, they asked me whether I wanted to opt for traditional publishing or partnered publishing. And those days, let me tell you, I saw it in black and white. I think maybe it's because my generation, I was becoming a writer after the ripe old age of 55 or so. So for me, publishing meant traditional publishing. And anything else was vanity publishing. Now, of course, I realize there are so many nuances involved. There are so many options which actually give you a lot of freedom. But at that point, it was black and white. So I said, actually, I feel quite foolish, okay? So anyway, at that point, I said, no. I wouldn't consider anything other than traditional publishing. So in that case, Lead Start came back saying that in that case, they would add my manuscript to they have a database of projects under consideration, I believe. So they said that they will add it to that and that they would give me a contract in the future, but there were no guarantees and there was no time frame.
I know the wordings. Don't worry. I know them.
Okay. So then, there I was and wondering now what's to be done. And fortunately, then that was when JCO got to me and they were ready with the contract. But I suspect, later I was thinking that maybe I struck it lucky with JCO because at that point, the chief editor was a South Indian girl. So maybe the content, because for me, it was a Thiruvilayaadal Puranam. My first book was based on that. So I thought maybe it struck a chord with her. It could be. So that is how this first thing happened.
Good for you. Good for you. I'm very happy to hear that. Because
no, but JT, I was a little hesitant. I was not very excited about my publishers because I was aiming for, the big league. And I kind of thought that Jayco was more into textbooks.
Lead start will make you wait till our next birth. I know what it is, how it is.
Well, I'm so happy. Okay.
Yeah. You did the correct thing. So
yes. This part I will edit off. Preetha, you don't have to worry. So this is like you can be open. The parts where we name names, or say some negative comments, I will edit it off.
Okay, fine. Thank God.
So you can be open, and Leap Start. All three of us have gotten contracts from Leap Start. And we have gotten the exact same name.
Comfort in numbers. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
So I think Leap Start does this. I was also very excited when I got from Leap Start, and because I was just 27 then. So I was so I just wrote a book and I got a publishing deal, I thought, and then they were asking for money. And this one thing has, I don't know, like you said at the start of the meeting, I'm very particular that I'm not going to take money from anyone. And I knew it would cost around 1 lakh or something, and I was not for it.
Oh my God, okay.
Easily cost 1 lakh.
Okay, I didn't even get into all those details. I just said no. I just want a traditional publishing.
No, I got details. There will be packages. How many books will be printed and how much you can they'll call it investment in our own book, which is basically self-publishing.
Okay.
That's how they work. It's fine. It's fine.
So Jayco, it was for me.
Good. Okay. So I'm just going to the next question, jumping right into the next question. Many authors usually do not follow a trend, and it is very refreshing that you particularly went on to research what the trend was, and you found your own niche in that trend. So what did you feel when our perception of a trend will be much different than the market's perception of a trend, right?
Definitely.
So when you say mythology was the trend, contemporary mythology and urban fantasy is the trend. The type of mythology that you are writing is not the actual trend.
No,
so
definitely.
How did you perceive that difference, or how did you break that challenge of the difference?
See, for me, basically, I wanted to do something I was comfortable with, something which I was comfortable with. And as I told you, I realized that South Indian Puranas have been largely ignored. So I thought if I got into that, I would be doing something which I love, which I'm familiar with. And at the same time, I would be introducing readers to something new, fresh content. After the Mahabharata and the Ramayana and, those things which when you say mythology, usually that is what it means. That's what it means. Because even those books, of course, they also come in the Puranas. But the South Indian Puranas, I did do a little bit of research in the sense of the books published. And I didn't come across many, especially in English, which dealt with these. So then I thought maybe I'm introducing readers to fresh content. And so maybe I will go with that. And another thing for me, see, my first book was Shiva and the City of Nectar, based on the Thiruvilayaadal Puranam. And once I had decided that mythology was going to be my genre, the subject of my first book was almost a no-brainer for me. You see, I live in Madurai. And in Madurai, the Thiruvilayaadal Puranam is all around us. The name of our city, our river, our hills, even the streets, the names are associated with Thiruvilayaadal Puranam. So I actually chose that because it's something I was very familiar with, which I had grown up with. And it was more of a celebration for me. And I was very confident that I was introducing many people, not Madurai people or Tamil people as such, but taking this to a wider audience, and maybe there would be a demand for it. Fresh content, fresh mythological content.
All your books are from the same publisher, That is one question. The other question, how are the books doing in the readership point of view, sales point of view? If you can share with us.
Yeah, sure. I have stuck with the JCO Jane team. I don't know, maybe it is laziness also. Okay, I'm quite willing to accept that also. Or maybe it's just a comfort zone. I mean, okay, we are comfortable, that kind of a thing. So I have stuck with them. Of course, they are not really into marketing. They are more textbooks, when my first book, they are actually
I know them.
number one in textbooks. So they, at first we didn't have teething problems. So I would actually say for my first two books, the marketing and that kind of thing was really not up to the mark at all. But after that, I've had they have very young girls who are coming in, people like Dania, that age, young enough to be my daughters. Those kind of girls have come in, and now they are doing a little more marketing, and there's more promo videos and things there, which I was never ever asked for. So, but now for my last book, those things have come into play. And then as for how my books are selling, very, very modest, I'm sure, because that, especially the last 2 years. The last 2 years were a total washout. But otherwise, okay. I mean, I'm okay with it, and they seem to be okay with the sales also. So, I mean, the affirmation that my books are doing okay, that they're kind of alive, is that JCO is willing to publish the next one. That way. So I take it like
good.
that.
So are the 3 books, right? 3 books over what?
5.
How many? 5 years? Okay. 5 books.
No. How many years? She's asking how many years.
Sorry. The first book was 2015.
Okay.
Then I had one in 17, 18, okay. 19, and 21.
Oh, great. Okay, lovely.
Okay. I wanted to ask you, what happens is the canonical text, whatever mythology that you're talking about, the canonical text is basically in Tamil, right?
Yeah.
There are certain things which can get lost in translation when you're changing it into English, and there are certain things which can be added in translation, right?
Yeah.
So, you said, even though the same Ramayana was written by Valmiki and Kambar, the way they write, the style of the presentation, and one might have been prose and the other would have been made more poetic and all that. How different is your book from the actual canonical text?
Dania, when you come to the Puranas, if you ask me, there is no one version. We're talking about, it does not have to be Kamban and Valmiki because the languages itself are different. But generally, even if you go for the original Sanskrit Puranas, you will find so many different versions. Alternative narratives are so common when you deal with the Puranas. So as I keep telling you, I did not want to fictionalize the mythology. I was very clear about that. So what I do is I take the Purana, and I do try my very best to stick to the original as much as I can. But when I come across alternative narratives, and I do come across them very often, you have 2 or 3, the same story. You don't even have to talk about whether it's poetry or prose or no, even the action story itself, you get different versions. So at that point, what I do is I opt for the one which I have heard, because most of my things based on oral, the stories which have been passed on orally over the generations. So I go for that.
Okay, so what usually happens in the trend that we are talking about, the mythology trend, is that people write from one person's perspective, right? Like writing Ramayana from Sita's perspective, or writing the entire Mahabharata from Kundi or even Panchali's perspective. So, like you said, because there are many narratives, there is higher scope for looking at the same story from different eyes and giving different perspective to it. But your story, because I've read the last one, The Dance of Shiva, I feel like it is written in a third person point of view, and it is written in a helicopter view. Like you just look like it is for a reader to be looking at the entire story as it is happening, and not from any point of view.
Yeah, correct.
Was this more restricting for you? Because that when you write from a singular point of view, it's more liberating, right? You can bring in some different perspective. But though you didn't want to, fictionalize it, was it easier for you to write it this way in a helicopter view, or was it tougher for you to write it this way?
I think it is easier. It's easier because then you are actually writing about something which is there in front of you. You understand? But this particular thing leads me to something else. Like, for example, you are talking about people who take the Mahabharata or whatever, and they take it from someone's perspective. In those kind of stories, you get a lot of imagination coming into play. And the reaction to that, different people have different reactions to that. See, for example, as I say, my books are not in the big league, so I don't get criticism about what I have written and all that, okay? But my readers, I do get brickbats and bouquets from two ends of the spectrum. So on one end, I have disappointed readers who criticize my books because they don't have the twists, modern twists. Okay. So they say, why haven't you modified the story? You could have made it more racy, less monotonous. You understand? So I get that from one end. And from the other end, I have readers who have appreciated my stories only because I have not used the Puranas as starting points for distorted versions. And I'm quoting these things. Okay. In fact, one said, like, I just love your books because you haven't desecrated the original with modern twists. So, I suppose you can't please everyone, but I think maybe that answers your question about, perspective. So I have taken the helicopter perspective, and yes, I find that very comfortable. And as I said, I have, both ends of the spectrum, have readers this side and that side, those for it and those against.
Any work will have that, both sides.
I know.
Like you said, you can't
please everyone.
Everyone. But let's come to your work. Give me one small, tiny example from your work, which you took the original like this, and you have, like you said, if I can say those words, you've gently told the story in this way. Not much of a change, but this is what I took, this is what I said. Any small one, that is one thing I want to know.
And that's very simple, JT. Like, for example, maybe in Dance of Shiva. Dance of Shiva is basically a collection of stories about the sthalapuranams. That is the legends behind our temples. So then we have a temple in Thiruvilayaadal, an Abhirami temple in Thiruvilayaadal, very famous. And over there, what basically happens is, I just give you in short, the priest, a man, he's a Abhirami Bhakta, and it's his story. So what I do to make it more readable, so what I have done there is I've added a few minor characters. For example, the temple priest who happens to be a cousin of Abhirami Bhatta, so then that priest comes forward to talk on his behalf when this Bhatta is lost in a trance, and then this man comes forward to try and explain to the king, no, this is my cousin. He's not deliberately insulting you. Little things like this. Little minor characters.
Okay.
That kind of thing.
Okay, those are carefully chosen gaps that you have taken to, fill in, from what I understand.
This is the fiction part in your book.
And if I may ask, with so many titles you've done, has there been any small controversy from any kind of readers, this set or that set? Any controversial thing they said, you shouldn't have done that? Has anyone said anything like that?
No, not at all. I mean, the only thing I have got is, as I've told you already, this criticism about, why don't you fictionalize it more, make it video?
Oh.
And those who say,
So
we love the fact that you're
you
not
haven't
doing
given
that.
any room for that, it seems.
I think maybe they haven't got enough attention for that would be more accurate.
No, I mean, because people are like that, jumpy when you touch Puranas or mythology.
Yeah.
And if
no, and one second, JT, actually, there was one reader who had reviewed a book and who had actually gone to find something which I had said to, whether it was accurate. I'm not too sure what point it was. But then finally, why it didn't really affect me, and that particular person agreed also, was because I have made it very clear that most of my material, a large part of my material, is based on stories I have heard from the time I was a child. So, I mean, it is not that you can find everything I say is in the original Purana. No, I'm not claiming that at all.
You have always heard stories and you're basing your works on them. Good.
Largely,
but do you, when you decide on a work, do you go and research further to know more? Because yes, you have heard and you have a story, yes. But do you research? Do you?
Yes, I do.
And
yes,
how
I
much?
Do. Because although a large part of my material, I would say most part of my story is based on stories which have been passed down orally over the generations. I do some research. So, and then another thing is, like, I love temples. Most of us do. I mean, it's part of us, the temple visits. And you would have all seen murals on the walls of the temples. That is another source for the material which I gather. And then my research as such is almost completely online. And I mean, I think we're very lucky to have this ocean of information at our fingertips. So I make good use of that. And I have my a few favorite websites. For example, shaivam.org. Then there is sacredtexts.com. Then vedabase.org. So you have some of these, and they are gold mines. They give you the Puranas, the original. They give you access to very reputed translations. So this is the kind of research I do.
Okay, 5 books written. All of them are mythological or religious text-based. Fine. Do you have any plans or ideas to go out of that comfort zone that you have created? Do you have any plans, or you're going to just wait for something to happen? I mean, if at all something really motivates me, I will come out. Otherwise, I'm not coming out. Is that the...
Actually, what I really enjoy, I would love to do a collection of short stories. Okay, that's my first love.
You mean social issues?
Maybe, no, not social, more like from the perspective of a woman. Okay, stories in where the woman is, the kind of the main character or whatever. And when I was choosing, nothing to do with mythology.
Okay. Social.
Absolutely nothing.
Contemporary
fictional short,
fictional short stories. Yeah.
I look forward.
So when
to
I
that.
actually. No, and when I was actually researching on what to opt for my first book, before I even thought of mythology, I came across, this when I was looking at Indian writing and publishers, I found that many of them do not accept collection of short stories. So that was when I moved from that, okay, this is not how I'm going to get published. Let's not think of this now, let's shelve that. And that's when I went into mythology. But to answer Jayanti's question, I have just finished work on The Tiger Throne is the title of my book. And it is an English retelling of Kalki's masterpiece, Ponniyin Selvan. So I have moved from mythology to historical fiction. To historical fiction.
Good. Yes.
That's in the editing stage. It's the editing stage.
Lovely.
So I mean,
shall we come
hopefully
to editing and rewriting phase, since you have taken that? We are going to go.
Can we
Jayanti, that
leave and come back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you want?
Okay. Preetha, I thought of asking you about, rewriting. How many times do you rewrite? And what goes on in the editing part of your works? Because aspiring authors will be really, get inspired by your answer. And let us know what you do in that part of your work, please.
Okay. JT, as far as rewriting goes, yes, I complete the entire thing, and maybe I read it to at least twice. And each time, it's like I'm kind of like, what do I say, like caressing my work or something, because little changes and one little touch there and touch there. In fact, I sometimes worry that even if I read it any number of times, I would still want to make one little change or something. So I stop with 3, and then I submit it. And then you asked me about the editing. Oh my God, that's the biggest bugbear for me and the most painful part of the journey, my first journey for my first manuscript. Because at that point, I was so grateful to the publisher for having accepted the book, and so lacking in confidence that I was willing to jump through hoops to please my publisher in every way. So then I was assigned a very young editor, a very young girl, very green editor, and she kind of made merry with my manuscript as if it was her own, making changes right, left, and center. And I'm the kind of person who, even when I was in school, I used to go and argue with my English teacher if she underlined even a single word of my school essays in red ink. So anyway, I bit my tongue and I said, I will lump it. And then it became too much. I mean, entire sentences were being rewritten, and, the connotation was going on, and things like that were happening. And then I said, no. And, little pieces of humor. I think she didn't get it. So, those little things were being, and then I said no. And then I thought, okay, my Red & Martin Foundation in English Grammar, I think Danya's too young to have heard of Red & Martin, but maybe you have heard of Red
Yes,
Martin.
of course. We grew up with that.
Yeah, exactly. So I then decided, okay, my Red & Martin Foundation in grammar is good enough to call her out on, matters of syntax and grammar. And then I put my foot down. I think the editor, it's her prerogative to advise changes, but I think it's a writer's prerogative to accept it or not. And I still so regret all those changes which I actually swallowed for my first book.
Okay.
Thank God I was much more assertive the second time.
Understand. Yeah, it happens. It's the writer's right to decline or accept. Yes. And talking about, you said about Ponniyin Selvan, Kalki's.
Yes. Yes.
What's your philosophy or your belief in translation? How much do you think is lost in the translation? Or because in your case, you're also you're abridging it.
Yes. Condensing it.
So condensing it, and so how was it to do that work? And has it reached the publishers yet, or not?
Yeah. It's called the Tiger Throne, and it's now in the editing stage. In the editing stage. And you were asking me about translating, JT. I think for me, because this is the only one I have done. Okay, this is the only translation I have done. And for me, I think a great deal of it is of things which I would have liked to keep and I have lost. I have tried to be very, because as you, obviously it's a masterpiece. It's Kalki's masterpiece. So I did not want to, I have not interfered with it in any way. And I've tried to capture, both the body and the soul. But however much I have worked on it, because of this constraint of pages, Because obviously, like, they were about 600, they said 600. I said, no, impossible. So, 800 pages itself. And his book is on 2000 odd pages. So, like, basically, I think my deepest regret in translating this particular thing is I lost a lot of the atmosphere. Okay, like, I mean, like, there's a lot of landscape description, Tamil, we do all that. Some of that I have lost. But even that is okay. A bit of the humor, I couldn't really capture it.
Most of the humor goes with the original language. So it's always the case. It's always the case. And in that sense, you have not translated, or maybe you have adapted and you have condensed it. That could be a better way to.
I call it a retelling. I call it a retelling.
Great. So shall we move on to the world of W? Over to Danya to ask the first.
Yes, the world of W is nothing but a set of W questions like what, when, where, and it is for the audience to scroll down to one listen if they cannot sit through the entire session or they don't have the time for it. So it is just like a recap of the entire session we've had with you. And my first question would be, what is your next work and when is it supposed to reach the hands of a reader?
I have just completed The Tiger Throne, which is my retelling of Kalki's Ponniyin Selvan. It's now at the editing stage. Hopefully, it should be out in June or July.
So where can readers and our aspiring authors find your works?
My books are all available on Amazon JD. And I also have a website, PreethaRajah.com, where, I mean, you can, with the links to all my books.
That's great.
They're all available on that.
Okay.
Online, that's, I mean, fantastic, no? I mean, like, social media, my goodness.
Yes. So Kindle versions of those works are available?
Yes.
Okay, good.
In fact, in abroad, like, for example, in the USA, only the Kindle version is available. Abroad, only the Kindle version is available.
And when, like, are you planning to do something like a fiction original, and like apart from the usual mythological side that you?
Yes, because as I told you, or as I told both of you, this genre was not something which was, my favorite or anything like that. As I told you, I got into this because I thought this would be the easiest route to getting published. So my first love actually is short stories, very women-centric short stories. So I'm hoping to take some time off for myself and, be damned whether I'm published or not. But I'm just going to take some time off to write for myself.
Yeah, Women's Day is coming.
Yeah.
Come up with the first story of your women-centric stories. Women's Day in another, maybe. I think.
So that is what I would like to do.
Yeah. Welcome to the world of actual fiction. Lovely.
Is your next book also being taken up by the same publisher, which is Jayco? Or?
Yes, Danya. I just stuck to Jayco throughout. I don't know, maybe it's just that I'm just staying within my comfort zone. Unlike Jayanti, who always challenges herself, as she said. Maybe it's just like, okay, fine, it's all right. So I'm comfortable with them, that kind of thing. It's become like that. So of course, I do have arguments with them about cover and things like that. And I feel marketing, cover, all these things, I don't feel, I sometimes feel, no, they're not giving me a good enough deal or whatever. But basically, I'm with
you're traditionally published, and they have done 5 of your works. I think what more can you ask for? That's brilliant. Yeah.
A better cover, more money.
And you're able to argue with them. You are able to get your things done. What else can
but not not initially, because as I told you, for my first book, I was so grateful to them. They gave me a very, very, very mediocre cover. And of course, I didn't object to it because I was so happy. Okay. Then when the second book I got, the same kind of very mediocre cover, I kind of protested. Because if you ask me, this idiom, don't judge a book by its cover. If you take it literally, I think it's the most ignored piece of advice you could come across. People do judge a book by its cover. That's my opinion.
To some extent, it is important. Yes, of course.
Yeah, because when you walk, somebody walks into a bookshop
and Preetha, you know something? At times, I have noticed this way also. The cover is too fantastic. Later on, you read inside, you're disappointed.
It's a disappointment. That is
so it's the other side also. I have come across that way. So,
but generally, somebody walks into a bookshop and browses the shelves, JT, it makes a big difference whether they pick up your book or not.
Yes.
The cover makes a difference.
Yes. Danya?
Yeah. And I would like to end this with the last question, which is, how has social media helped you in promoting or to reaching your, readers? Have readers gotten in touch with you through social media and given you, suggestions or their comments in the book?
I must confess that my social media presence is abysmal. Okay, but I think that social media is the most powerful tool for marketing. Let's take us for example. This podcast would not have happened if Danya had not come across one of my promotional videos on WhatsApp. So I think it makes a very big difference. And for me, readers getting back to me is only these reviews on Amazon. Those are the reviews on Amazon. And as I was saying, I do get big packs and bouquets from two ends of the spectrum. So I have disappointed readers who criticize my stand of being true to the Puranas, because then they tell me that there are no twists to my stories, and that I don't modify the storyline, the original storyline, to make the narrative more exciting. And I also have heard from writers who appreciate me for the stand of staying true to the original. And they say it's such a refreshing change that you don't use the Puranas as starting points for distorted stories. And so, I suppose you can't please everybody. In fact, I even had one review where the writer said, "I'm so happy you don't desecrate the original." I thought it was rather strong language, that you don't desecrate the original with the modern twists. So both ends. But basically, I would love to be flooded with reviews.
Of course, any author will be, expecting that. Will be thrilled to have that. And we cannot please all the, types of readers. So it's always the case for any author, for any book. So we go forward ignoring too much of criticism or not taking too much of phrases in the head. That's how we can go forward. Otherwise, that's how it is. Very nice talking to you. So you tell us how you felt about this session, talking with us, about your writing journey, your books and all, how you felt about this session, and also anything that you wish to tell our aspiring authors, anything at all.
As far as the session goes, Danya and JT, you made me feel so comfortable that I really did not feel I was being interviewed. I just enjoyed myself and shared my thoughts with you people, and it's been so comfortable. Thank you for that. And as for aspiring authors, all I can tell you is just hang on. Just hang on. Believe in yourself. And I would ask all of you to use Jayanti as an example. Because here's a person who, when she met with rejection, as all of us do, I told you that dreadful silence after you submit your manuscript, she didn't waste time waiting for somebody to, accept it. She just went on writing. So, when she got published, she had a corpus of work ready. So I found that very inspiring. So that is what I'm going to advise all of you. Just keep going, right? Enjoy yourselves, right?
Yes,
right.
yes,
And
yes.
it'll click.
Yes. Lovely. So today we had Preetha Rajah sharing her, writing journey, and we are going to come back in LOL second season. And the next episode is going to be Sarah Archer from the US, she, a young author and a script writer. She's going to be in our session next fortnight. So best wishes to everyone. Best wishes, Preetha, for your journey ahead. Best. All the best. Bye.